Welcome back to Feature Presentation. Tonight we're going to be talking about one of the other MCU films I've never reviewed. I recently talked about Iron Man, and the film that came out directly after that very same year, was The Incredible Hulk. And here, Bruce Banner, a scientist on the run from the US government, must find a cure for the monster he turns into whenever he loses his temper. While we know today that Iron Man launched the MCU, the people who made that movie had no idea if it would work or not. Of course, you never know if an audience is going to embrace your film, what their reaction will be, how profitable it will be, what critics will say, all that stuff. And The Incredible Hulk was made right around the exact same time as Iron Man, obviously releasing in the same summer. And what you get with these first two official MCU movies is a somewhat refreshing feeling in that it really does not feel that interconnected to a universe. This movie is about the Hulk, it's about the Abomination, it's about Betty Ross, and it's about General Ross. It's about what it's about. It's not too concerned about other movies, it's not trying to set up a million things, it's not trying to fit into a universe, it's just trying to reboot Hulk. Starting the film with him already Hulk and ditching the whole gamma radiation stuff and having that be a backstory in the opening credits was really smart, because this came just 5 years after Ang Lee's Hulk, which is a divisive movie to say the least. Some people really love Ang Lee's Hulk, and I was there for the release of it. I was 15 years old, the perfect age. I loved the Bill Bixby, Lou Ferrigno show as a kid, and so naturally I was really excited to see the Hulk movie in 2003. And I remember really enjoying it. Over the years, with subsequent rewatches, I liked the movie less and less. The runtime is massive. It has so many ideas, some very respectable ideas, and some terrific action sequences. You could tell that Ang Lee was really trying to make an artistic film and that Hollywood might have been pushing back a little bit. And for that reason, the movie is a bit convoluted. And as a comic book movie, I don't really think it works very well. As a human drama, it's a little bit better than that. But honestly, I just can't get over the aggressive and highly distracting transitions and edit choices in Ang Lee's film. The comic panel look, it's a very smart idea, and I can totally see why anyone would pitch that, and I can see why you would make your whole movie that way, but I just don't like the way it looks. And it's easy to look back on this movie now and see it as this kind of inconsequential MCU film that didn't really impact anything. Edward Norton isn't even in the MCU anymore. He was later replaced with Mark Ruffalo, who I think is better and has had many more opportunities to be better. His character's been able to evolve quite a bit, and he's had more opportunities to be part of the team than Edward Norton ever had, so I don't necessarily think it's fair, but I will say that when I saw The Avengers, which was the first time I saw Ruffalo as Bruce Banner and Hulk, I thought, yep, that's better. Of course, none of that is to say that Edward Norton is a problem with this film. In fact, he's really good in the movie. He does a lot for me as Bruce Banner and as Hulk in his motion capture fights and whatnot. By all accounts and purposes, I'm sure that if they had continued with Edward Norton in that role, then he would have had as many opportunities as Ruffalo to shine. As easy as it is to dismiss this movie now, this movie's only job in 2008 was to be better than Ang Lee's Hulk and to reignite interest in feature film versions of Hulk. The thing is, I don't think this movie is exponentially better than Ang Lee's Hulk. I think that the 2003 film has more drama, has more interest in its characters, and it definitely is slower and takes its time, sometimes to its detriment. It's very long, as I said, and not paced very well. But this film also has some issues with pacing. It's probably my biggest issue with the movie. The middle. It's got a lot of boring scenes that don't really feel like they add up to anything, and it has character choices that feel very forced to me. But what I think this film does do better than Ang Lee's film is it really does feel like a comic book movie. It feels like it embraces the silliness of these characters and portrays them in a sincere way. And I also love all the references to the TV show. The machine he's sitting in during the opening credits, with the crosshairs appearing on his face. Bill Bixby shows up on the television. Lou Ferrigno appears in the film, just like he did in the 2003 version. Craig Armstrong's score even utilized the Lonely Man theme from the show. And one of these kids is even named Jack McGee, which was a character from the TV show.
Mr. McGee, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
But I really do think one of the better choices here was just having him be Hulk from the beginning. It really cuts through the fat. We just saw the origin 5 years ago. Most comic book fans understand it. Even your average audience member pretty much gets it. Gamma radiation, and when he gets mad, he turns big and green. You don't really need it. And it's smart to have him on the run from the beginning, and it's one of the film's biggest assets. The first 20 to 30 minutes of the movie is actually fairly strong. There's a lot of great action, it's well paced, you feel like there's some urgency. There's a terrific action set piece where Hulk faces off against Tim Roth, and it really starts the movie in a fast and compelling way. Where the film slows down for me is when Banner gets back home and he sees Betty Ross, and there's some romantic drama that's involved there with a past, obviously, and he's trying to restart his life. And it's here where you begin to realize that the film really knows what it is when it's an action movie, when it's a thriller, when it's about tension. Whenever it's just like Banner in everyday life, it feels like the movie is in a holding pattern. And I don't look at any of the actors on the screen and say, well, that's why, they're the problem. I really just think it's about pacing. Similar to the 2003 movie, there's a large chunk of the middle here that's just a little boring. But what's never boring about this movie for me is Tim Roth. I think he's terrific as Emil Blonsky / the Abomination. As far as early MCU villains, I think he's one of the better ones. He has a lot of charisma, not too much depth, though, of any kind, but he is an entertaining presence, and sometimes that badass man of few words that gets the job done kind of villain is good enough. Although apparently he's in group therapy now, I think. I saw She-Hulk, I just don't remember She-Hulk. He definitely brings a lot of intensity to the film, especially as he becomes more and more addicted to getting stronger, searching for that ultimate fight against Hulk. The early MCU, especially Phase 1, took some flack for having weak villains, but I do think that Tim Roth stands out as one of the better ones. I also like that the film periodically reminds us of his days without incident. This is a really easy and simple way to build stakes because it makes Banner's situation feel like he's dealing with an affliction or even an addiction, something that he's trying to fight against. He doesn't want it to happen. It could be anything that you could apply to your everyday life, but for him, it's not just about not becoming the Hulk. He's keeping track of how long he's not become the Hulk. And it's also a really simple solution that could have even been brought about in post-production. I don't know if it was in the script, but you don't need to have that be part of production because it is entirely a text that appears on the screen and only with enough times to sort of remind us. So the movie starts strong. It's very well paced to begin with, but then the middle has a lot of saggy, veiny Green Hulk baggage. He's very veiny in this movie. Have you ever noticed that? His veins don't feel like they're where veins are supposed to be. He kind of looks like a deflated beach ball or something. Like his skin's very ripply. You know what I mean? Like as anatomically correct as a 9-foot green guy could be, he doesn't look... Something's off. I don't know what it is. But despite that middle portion of the movie being kind of slow, the finale makes up for that entirely, with Emil Blonsky becoming Abomination and just laying waste to everything in sight. Banner then has to accept his inner Hulk and use it for the good of the people that are being attacked by Abomination and go up against him, and it's a very satisfying fight sequence. Like I said, the movie really seems to understand what it has to be during these action sequences. It feels fully realized as a vision, which is unfortunately not the most important part of the movie. Now, if you watch my review for Iron Man, then you know of the friend who I saw that movie with who just lost his mind during the end credits scene with Nick Fury. That same friend went to see The Incredible Hulk with me later that year, so you can probably imagine his reaction when this happened. Hulk! Smash! I'm pretty sure I had to peel him off the ceiling. Now, contrary to popular belief, this movie did not have an after-credits scene. It actually had a pre-credits scene. Tony Stark appears in the film and talks to General Ross. He mentions that he's assembling a team. The after-credits scene for Iron Man was very exciting, and it jump-started a lot of people's hopes for the Avengers. But still, it's just one movie. When Tony Stark appeared in this film, I think we all kind of lost our collective minds, especially in the theater, because I remember it vividly. Because one film is one film. You never know exactly if it's going to continue. At the end of this movie, which of course, we had heard Marvel's plans, we read articles, but how many of those types of articles do you read every day? Well, this movie might happen. This director might take this movie. You never know entirely for sure. But when Robert Downey Jr. appeared at the end of this movie and mentioned that he's assembling a team, that was pretty exciting because it meant that these two universes were not two universes, they were the same universe. And it was that next step that we needed to get to what eventually became the Avengers. And I think most of us at the time were sort of in this place where we weren't entirely sure if it really was going to happen because it was so many films away, and a number of movies had to be successful for them to keep being made. So The Incredible Hulk is a totally okay movie. I wouldn't call it a great movie. I wouldn't even necessarily say it's a very good movie. I think it is perfectly adequate, and it did its job fairly well to reboot Hulk and reignite public interest in seeing Hulk in feature films. The action sequences are a lot of fun. The visual effects were very impressive for 2008 and still are worthy enough to watch today. They don't distract necessarily. And the cast is all very good. It's just that the central drama behind the story felt lacking to me. The depth just wasn't quite there. It was more focused on the action because I think the direction might have been Ang Lee Hulk boring. Have to make Incredible Hulk fun. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for continuing to watch this new segment. I'm really having a lot of fun with it. Honestly, like I just can't wait to talk about so many films I've always wanted the freedom to talk about. I know I had that freedom before. I don't know what it is about my psychology where I need a segment to truly feel like I have that freedom, but I feel like I have it now. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching. Look forward to more videos very soon. And if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.